Okay, so I was making some things for the Jeep earlier today, and it kind of got me thinking, how far should the ship customization go in Star Citizen? Because honestly, I'd be 100% happy if it was realistic and I was able to do like make parts in 3D renderers and programs and build actual parts for my ship personally, but I don't think that most people would be happy with that. I think it'd be too complex and drive a lot of people away from the game. So for the overall game, I don't think that would be healthy to have a crazy system like this in the game. But this is a very important topic to me in these types of games because I personally, this is one of the biggest draws to space games for me is the customization of ship and making a ship my own and being able to do different builds, try out different things, do different stuff with flying, whether that be the thrusters, guns, shields, armors, all kinds of stuff. I'm gonna get my fingers all greasy and dig in there and try all kinds of things. But how can they keep it complex enough to keep me interested in a way that doesn't drive people away from the game? Like the old saying, make it easy to get into, but hard to master, or something along those lines. I can't remember exactly. How can CIG accomplish this? Well, I'm going to go over what I think might be a good idea. Maybe not. But I'll share my thoughts on this thing, and you all can let me know what you think of it. Alright, so you'll have to forgive my poor drawing in paint, but this is the easiest way I could find to show you. And the dogs are inside now, so if you hear any background noise, it's probably them. But anyway, kind of a triangle of what trumps what. So DPS would beat defensive, and defensive would beat stealth, but stealth would beat DPS in this system. I kind of think this is kind of where CIG's headed already with the systems that we have in game. But just to kind of break it down, DPS would be enough to break. Like DPS would be a little bit more maneuverable because they could be lighter, not having armor and stuff, and they'd beat the more defensive builds because they wouldn't be as maneuverable, and the DPS would be enough to get through their armor. The defensive builds would be able to beat the stealth builds because the stealth builds just wouldn't have enough DPS if once they popped out of stealth to attack the defensive builds to kill them before the defensive builds would be able to respond. And then stealth builds would beat DPS builds because in this scenario, DPS would have significantly less armor, so they wouldn't see the stealth coming, and the stealth could just get the drop on them and kill them easier. So kind of that's the idea, that's the premise. Obviously, these are all interchangeable, and if CGI does something different, like the stealth isn't one of them or something like that, then obviously this could be replaced. But I think a triangle is a good, easy way so that. Okay, sorry about that. The dogs want to back out. But anyway, this would be an easy way for new players to look at the system and be able to understand it and know kind of where they want to be. Now, where the complexity of the system comes in would be you'd be able to uh, build a ship anywhere on this triangle. So, like, say you like stealth and DPS, you could build a ship along this triangle. Kind of like picture the power triangle where you could put your power pretty much anywhere you want. It'd be similar to the builds in this triangle. So you wanted stealth and DPS, you could do that, and you'd be sacrificing like parts of your stealth for more DPS or parts of your DPS for more stealth. And like say you wanted a super maneuverable stealth ship, well those big thrusters are going to take you out of stealth and put you kind of more on the DPS side of things. Or say you wanted to have a really heavy ship and be more defensive, well you could do that, but your cross section is going to be a little bit messed up and you're going to lose some stealth, right? DPS and defense, you could be like, oh, I'm going to sacrifice some of my DPS and put some more defensive system in. Like, I'm not 100% sure how that would look, like with lasers or something. Like maybe you can't get the heat up high enough to get the crazy DPS with all that armor because it's dissipating more heat. Or potentially you're losing space for DPS components for the armor and stuff like that. Or it's just, hey, I'm sacrificing some of my maneuverability, which kind of comes along with the light DPS builds that beat defense, something along those lines. So as you can see, you could do crazy things, like you could even be like, oh, you know what, I want some stealth, I want some defense, but I mostly want DPS, and you end up kind of up here, or mostly DPS, and you end up here. So you'd have a lot of customization inside this triangle. And I think as a new player with just kind of the base components or that you have access to, I think you would kind of want to have them end up in the middle to try and be like equally stealth, DPS, and defense so that they can kind of get a feel for each of them and move around. And then on top of it, not all builds would be limited to this. Like maybe if you go hang out with the Vanduul, you can get this weird, crazy build that's over here that has nothing to do with it because it's alien or something like that. And I think a good way to get all these builds would be just by, like, if you want a more defensive build, that would be like you have to get your reputation up with maybe the Navy. Stealth build, maybe there's some rebels that use stealth to fight certain aspects of the government, and so you would have to get your reputation up with them to get the good stealth parts. And DPS, maybe the pirates are DPS or something along those lines. Not exactly, but that's just kind of my base idea for how I think customization should work in the game and how they can make it simple for somebody getting into it to understand, but complex enough that like anybody that really wants to dig into it and mess around with some stuff really has the options and opportunities. And they could do this customization by subcomponents and just components and server blades and different things like that. I think would allow a lot of customization, all while trying to stay as simple to get into as possible. Thank you for watching. Let me know if you have any other ideas about this in the comments section down below.